Hello guys, just yesterday we spoke about 3 millions of Russians who lost access to their bank cards this January alone because the Kremlin and the Russian banking system did everything to prevent them from withdrawing this money from the bank accounts, thus trying to save the banking system. And now we have some truly beautiful news from Moscow Times, a source from inside Russia, that says that in 2025, Russians withdraw the record-breaking amount of cash. They broke a record of a decade. They have added approximately 1 trillion of cash into circulation, and most of these withdrawals took place in the last quarter of the year, as more and more problems were amassing inside Russia. Plus, there are some very interesting consequences of various restrictions that the Kremlin imposes. For example, the fact that they have internet shutdowns pushes more people to withdraw the cash, and that's exactly what the Kremlin does not want. And to satisfy this demand in cash, to solve problems with the federal budget, the Kremlin had to sell off 3/4 of its gold reserves. This is huge, and subscribe to witness the collapse of the Kremlin regime together. My name is Anna, I'm from Ukraine, I'm in Ukraine. Like, comment, share these videos to demonstrate your solidarity with Ukraine, but also to spread the good news. This is important, especially when feeling anxious in this extremely chaotic and unpredictable world. There are some good signals that demonstrate Russia will not be able to fight as it wants during this year. May this be the year of its defeat. So according to Moscow Times, Russians withdrew a record amount of cash in rubles during this year, and it is larger than any withdrawal in a decade. So approximately they added trillions of rubles to the circulation, and you all know how bad that is for the monetary system in general. And it is also a very clear demonstration of this distrust that exists between the Russian government and the population. One of extremely important elements of the Russian state is this unwritten rule between the Kremlin and the population that they do not demand freedoms, they do not demand rights, but the Kremlin guarantees them stability and some predictability. And finally, they've reached that moment in the modern Russian history, totally destroyed by this special military operation, when this population that sacrificed so much of its freedoms feels that they do not get anything as a reward. They've lost the stability, everything is very gloomy, very unpredictable, and that is the main reason why they withdraw trillions of rubles. 80% of withdrawals took place during this last quarter of 2025, and that is a period of huge Russian geopolitical failures and also very bad situation on the front lines with Putin's lies exposed about Kupiansk. And another very interesting connection exists between this necessity to turn off internet in Russia, and in 2025 the Kremlin broke the record and put Russia as a #1 country in the world with internet shutdowns without any specific reasons. But this had some unpredictable consequences, and the Russians began withdrawing more cash because they could not pay for something online. They needed this money, and they started withdrawing them. So it's just so interesting when this evil is cornered, any kind of solution that they come up with has negative consequences on something different. For example, they want to hide the truth, they want to prevent people from sharing videos of destructions on military sites, their reviews on cancelled flights, or forums where they discuss problems with the withdrawal of cash, and they get consequences. People want to withdraw more money because they cannot do it online. Thumbs up for that. And of course, they are angry. They are trying to destroy. Now you've seen what they are trying to destroy. I think it was the best illustration of how Russians try to destroy our energy system in this very cold months. But you see that Ukrainians are extremely resilient, and we know we will defeat this evil. And to protect more Ukrainian homes, I'm honored to remind you about an extremely important fundraiser of United 24. That now runs to protect Ukrainian skies. That is a defense system that operates on the artificial intelligence and is able to detect Shahed drones and other aerial dangers, and thus save more Ukrainians and more Ukrainian families from this evil that Russians constantly send on our streets, on our homes. I will leave a link to the fundraiser in the first pinned comment, but do remember, it's super important to be prepared, and believe me, Ukrainians will be ready to share this experience if under any consequences you might need a protection too. So to be able to cover those expenses, those desire of Russians to withdraw, of course, the Kremlin does everything to prevent them from withdrawing the cash, inventing very unnecessary checkups, showing that this very normal behavior of a customer seemed like suspicious one, constantly making longer lists of these suspicious behaviors. And of course, it's not the same, because come on, if 3 million people lose access to their bank cards during just like less than 3 weeks, then we all know it's a strategy of the Kremlin. But they still need money, they still need cash, and the good news, they had to sell 3/4 of their gold reserves. This is huge. This is unbelievable. They were doing it during this last 3 years, after which it became obvious actually that the Blitzkrieg failed and they did not have enough resources, so they started selling off. But the previous years it was way less, and now 3/4, and they do it to bring something to finance the federal budget. It's just like selling money to be able to fund military budget, to burn it as missiles destroying Ukrainian kindergartens. That's insane. And one more direction where they use this gold that they sell is to fund banks, and banks suffer from withdrawals. So honestly, what we observe right now is a huge avalanche of problems that will destroy the Russian Federation from inside. Unfortunately, the world is extremely dangerous and chaotic right now. I won't even comment on this peace council where Putin and Lukashenko were invited. And what makes me feel a little bit calmer is that a lot of good people reject the very idea. And I think that sanity will prevail. Thank you so much for your support. Do subscribe to my Instagram. Again, I have a very important reel there, which I partnered with United 24, and I'm honored and excited about that. And it tells why we all need NATO now. Also, follow me on other social media platforms, the links to which in the description of this video. Check the merch shop, lots of good items there that turn you into the ambassadors of Ukraine. Thank you for buying me coffees, becoming my patrons and sponsors of the channels. You know it means a lot to me. And you know that even though we focus on global topics, this is my very personal channel and you are my very close friends. Tomorrow my mom would have turned 75, but I've lost her 3 years ago on this very day, like the 20th, the 21st, a very meaningful date. And if you are a person who believes in God, do pray for her, because one of the things that I will never forgive Russians is the fact that these last days of her life were also during this very first harsh blackouts. Thank you for your support, for your friendship, and thank you for standing with Ukraine. The world is extremely chaotic, extremely dangerous, but friends will definitely back each other up, and I am sure that good will prevail. Love you. Slava Ukraini!